Welcome to After Hours Theology Club, where two theology profs, Jason
and Joel,
kick back after class for informal, thought-provoking chats about faith, scripture, and life. Whether you're a fellow theology nerd or just curious about big questions, pull up a chair and join the conversation. Here we are. Welcome to
Season 2.
After Hours. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Season 2.1. Yeah, we did it. We made it through a season. We arbitrarily decided that 8 episodes would be a season.
Right.
And I think the idea there was like episodes are released every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so that's 16 weeks, which is basically a semester.
Yeah.
So students, as they're going through the semester, can tune into the podcast, get their theological edification.
That's so good. So by season 3, those second-year students will still be in their second year.
Yeah, I haven't thought it through beyond 8 episodes a season. So whatever.
I thought we were going to enhance like our audio quality and stuff for season 2.
We were. We're going to. Just wait. Wait for that. One day they're going to jump in. My other dream is that we do it in my office. Because I've got that comfortable couch and like the sun comes in.
Where did you get that couch, by the way?
There's a lot of questions as to where the couch came from.
Yeah.
The key is sit in the couch.
Yeah.
And then all your questions will fade away.
At least you've got sunlight. Joel has sun coming through.
I've got a couple of windows in my office.
I have a couple of windows too. One is my door into another office, and the other is a window into a hallway.
Into a hallway. Yeah.
So,
and I saw that somebody on your window on the hallway pressed their face against the glass, and I can see like their lips and nose like pressed
like
into
the
the glass.
oily.
Totally. Yeah. I wonder if it was your son, but that's just my guess.
Oh, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah, totally.
I don't know.
I just think of how dirty that window would have been. But,
Right.
yeah. So we both have windows. Some
Yeah.
windows are maybe superior to others, but
That's 100%.
I will happily take the office in faculty row one day. It's just like this little.
If you
closet
don't know
office.
the layout, faculty row,
Yeah.
we work out of the seminary wing. And
Right.
faculty row is
College, yeah.
in the college, and it's a long, dark
Yeah.
hallway.
I think it's literally below ground too. Like you got to go down steps to get in there. So
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah,
interesting.
I know, right? So
Wait, but you don't actually go, we just go walk straight. But you're right, it is kind of.
yeah, it's like it's set below ground level. Yeah, because all those
Higher
windows
than
are
that.
like up. Yeah,
It must be higher in that side of that.
but we were going to talk about the current political situation.
Okay.
I just feel like it's a mess right now.
Well, and by the time you actually listen to this episode, when's this getting released?
We've got to talk to Gavin, but like I doubt it's going to get fixed before then.
Well,
Okay,
if this
so
comes out in September.
I legitimately told my class to pray for Donald Trump and the citizens of the United States because
Yeah.
I just feel like things are getting bleak down.
Erica was telling me she was reading something about how American citizens are trying, like there's more and more trying to become Canadians and move to Canada. And they're like surprised that, oh, I need a job to come to Canada and
Like,
live here.
yeah, right?
So they're like being denied.
We're a sovereign nation.
100%.
Yeah.
But hopefully we still are by the time this is released, right?
I don't think I think the concerns about 51st state, to me that seems like bluster. I mean,
Right.
I know like he repeats it a lot and
Yeah.
even some of the higher ups in our own government have said like let's not, be too unserious about this.
Right.
But like integrating economies like that, not to mention like NATO, like in annexing another country, I don't know. But like it just seems like it's really poisoning the well of discourse. Like
Right.
it feels more and more like a farce when it comes to how nations and states should be run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, like on the ground, is
Yeah.
this going to deter you from visiting the States? Are you like, I would not go visit the States
Yeah.
for like a vacation, let's say like a 1 week down in Florida or something?
I think at this point, yes, I am deterred.
Yeah, deterred. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good friend who lives in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand.
Right.
And I also feel like, the last time we crossed over, we came through the States to come. So we were in Ontario
Yeah.
and we came through
Yeah, you
the
can cut
States.
below. Yeah.
And we got a bit hassled. Now we were trying to bring some housing supplies for our daughter. So
Yeah.
a vehicle full, and we disclosed that we're bringing things through. Our daughter's moving
Yeah.
out to Saskatchewan.
Sure.
they were deeply concerned that our daughter was living as an illegal alien in the States. And pulled us over, right? And so, yeah, so we had to prove that, where she is and all of that. So,
Wow.
yeah. So even that, I mean, that was back in the summertime.
Right. Yeah.
So it's back in 2024 summer.
Right. So yeah. So now it's like maybe things even.
I feel like things were just escalating
and ratcheted up a bit. Yeah. I was reading an article that was saying that, like, I don't know if it's snowbirds or people who have to who stay more than 14 days have to register or something, or I can't recall if fingerprinting was a part of that too, but like
I don't think they have to now. But I am concerned about the like the naming of like illegal aliens,
right?
Othering of humans that are maybe just they don't have American in their passport,
right?
That or citizenship, that somehow they're other. They're not right. They're not quite. They're aliens.
Do you see it as like a demotion of language as it relates to like people's humanity? Yes, like where it's they're kind of really, yeah. I mean, I get it. Yeah. Because
why not just say if you're not an American citizen, you're, you know what I mean,
you're non-resident, whatever. Yeah,
you have to do these things instead of like othering people. And I don't know, like Martin Buber. I think of like how he talks about the us and them and
I and thou.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Totally. As soon as you can kind of like label someone as like a thing or an entity, you can treat them
less than it's scary times. I would agree with you. There's a conference I go down to in the States on the regular, and I feel like if things persist, I'll give it a pass. This year it doesn't seem like it's an environment that we want to be a part of, but I haunt Reddit frequently more to just sort of see what the buzz is around some of these things. But Reddit's, probably pretty left leaning, but like, it seems like a lot of Americans are also like, we're not really big fans of what's going on here, right? Like, it does seem like, I don't think this is like the will of the people. Like, it seems like it's kind of the plutocracy or the oligarchy that's sort of quickly established itself in DC that's maybe making some of these decisions. But
for sure. And I think too, like if we're feeling this as Canadians, imagine how American citizens are thinking.
That's
right. Because it's like we're removed from it, but it's like they're the ones who elected Trump, right?
Right.
So it's like I'm sure there's people that are deeply concerned in the States,
right?
And they can do something about it, right? Like I guess midterm elections, a couple of years down the road, they can vote differently,
right? It just sounds so pessimistic. A couple of years down the road, it's like if there's enough of a country left in the electoral college, you'll get your chance.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like careful what you wish for, right? You just might get it, and then it's like the have you heard that whole thing, like the leopards ate my face party? Like,
no.
Oh, really? People talk about like you vote for the leopards ate my face party, and then the leopards come to eat your face, and you're like, no, I was on your side, and it's like, no, they're gonna come for you too. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, may this all just be like a bad dream where Trump and his administrators can course correct where they realize they've really taken a misstep here, right? Like, I'm still hopeful we can pull out of this just because it just seems like, again, it's a bad dream,
For sure.
So, yeah. I feel good with Carney at the helm, though, Prime Minister Carney. So seems like he's making some good choices. And
I think so.
Yeah. Don't know much about him, but
nor do I. I think he's got a lot of experience.
Even the fact that I was like, he's an economist, I was like, that's great. As opposed to like, he's a reality show host that convinced people he's a billionaire. And then he became one through Bill Kingdom. Well, I'm like, seems like a real politician.
Totally.
So, yeah. And it also makes me just want to love whatever leader we elect, because I'm like, I'm grateful that we're not in the same situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll pray for our countries.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else on in your world that's
Nothing
new, that's exciting? No?
Yeah. Okay. Saw the snowbirds out. I mean, we're obviously
totally
near Moose Jaw, and I was driving to the wing actually today, but saw the snowbirds out practicing.
Yeah, it's cool, eh?
Pretty cool.
Yeah, right? Finding formation and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's really cool. I always think like how much it must cost them to train, like just burning all that jet fuel. It's crazy. Yeah, but it's super cool.
And think about all those like Navy ships and whatever, right?
Oh, I know.
Cruising around.
Yeah.
Right.
But I feel like they have more purpose now because they're like, maybe we're going to get called up here.
Snowbirds?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Mount some guns on those things?
Yeah, I don't think so. They're from like.
What are they for then?
They're just to look good.
Oh man.
Too acrobatical.
Yeah.
Things.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, don't be surprised when we call them up. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
going from semi-pro to pro.
Oh man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Not much in my world.
Okay.
Yeah, just in the thick of the semester. Loving
Yes.
that. Yeah. It's a beautiful day outside. Spring's coming.
Absolutely.
Feeling jazzed about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Get into some more running outside, I think. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on the treadmill. I've been interested. I've been wanting to watch this show on Netflix called Adolescence. I don't know if you've heard of
I've
this.
seen it.
Okay,
I've seen the title.
I've been reading rave reviews, but
Okay.
I'm like, I feel like it's gonna hit too close to home because it's about like obviously young people and like internet usage and like how views can become destroyed. I know it seems intense, but I'm also like, oh, this could be pretty good. So
Yeah.
I feel like if I watch a show while I'm running on the treadmill, I can have the physiological impression that I'm running away from what I'm scared of.
Okay.
So I'm like, so that could be good.
That's
as opposed to
perfect.
just sitting and being captivated. So
Love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I watched this other show on Netflix. I won't even mention it because I was sort of like, I was impressed at how I'm either getting older or shows are getting this way. But it was like, it just felt pretty dark. It just felt kind of like the ending was just like, just sort of capitulating to like violence and like a digression of the character, not like a redemption or anything. And I was like, I don't know how into this I am anymore. So
Interesting.
yeah, maybe I'm just getting more puritanical in my age. But, yeah.
We've been watching Amazon Prime, The Popes, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, nice.
It's just like I think 6 episodes, one season. I'm coming out with another one, but super interesting.
Cool.
Like how corrupt the
Yikes. Yeah.
the system became.
Yeah.
I guess pre-Renaissance or during the Renaissance.
Sure.
And obviously the Reformation was birthed from all the corruption. But just super interesting just to see all those kind of things. And the whole like Vatican City built on the bones of Peter.
Yeah, man. Totally. Yeah, he's like underneath St. Peter's Basilica, right? Yeah, totally.
So first pope,
Yeah, that's awesome. They've got awesome lore, like we need some evangelical lore like that.
Right.
Yeah. At my old college, the lore we had was like this Bible from 1930. Like that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, which is cool.
Right.
Yeah, but not the same.
No, not the same at all.
Buried on the bones of a saint.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to make a transition talking about death to what our topic is for today.
Hey.
We wanted to wade into some deeper ethical waters and talk about MAID, medical assistance in dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this came up. We usually we sit down, we talk about what do we want to discuss for our next podcast, and we usually just throw ideas at the wall, and whatever sticks, we make a short list and then just decide. And I remember this is legitimately how it came out. I don't think anyone's going to listen to this, so I think I'm fine.
Well, we have 4 listeners.
Okay, you guys, just keep this under your hat. But I was like, I don't think MAID's that bad. I think it's how he started it. Because, so here's why I think it's worthwhile discussion. Because I feel like this is exactly the kind of thing I would come into your office and be like, what's the big deal?
Right.
And we would just talk about it.
Totally.
We wouldn't have our theology books open and our Bibles and we would just talk about it, right? And sort of spitball. So I think that's very much the spirit of the conversation we want to have today is just around that. I think some people legitimately, we hear about MAID and I think we intuitively know what our response is supposed to be as Christians. Right. We're supposed to be like, that's bad.
Yep.
And maybe there's very obvious reasons why it's bad.
Right.
But I also feel like there's a part of me that is so suffering averse that I don't want to suffer and die. And that if I was in a certain situation, I feel like I would actually want to engage in medical assistance in dying because I don't want to prolong suffering. Right. So, so there's this, I think it's a human response to be like, why is it bad? Right.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be great just to talk about it. Totally. And I've got some questions that maybe we can set up with here.
Yeah.
And of course, I'll welcome your own introductory thoughts. But it probably should be said that it's this is a safe space for us to just talk about the idea, right? Totally. I don't think you or I have anyone in our lives right now that are facing this kind of a decision seriously.
Yeah.
I recognize that people might listen to this and they might actually. So it's
totally.
Yeah, right. I think just maybe being aware that we don't want to activate anyone, much least ourselves, that we're going to be talking about suffering and death and euthanasia, right? But we just recognize that I think it's connected to realities that people engage in or have experienced that could be activating. And we don't mean to be insensitive. We don't mean to be abstracting it like it's something out there.
Yep.
But really do want to just have it as a conversation where we can just talk about it and acknowledge, the strengths and weaknesses and maybe kind of forge a path forward from there.
Yep.
Yeah. How about you? Like, when we were like, hey, let's talk about MAID. Like, what kind of went through your head?
Yeah, I think I probably thought, I think it's kind of a settled kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
But I think there's also, you're absolutely right. It's important to talk about. And I agree that it's a bit removed for me. So,
Right.
So my wife works in healthcare. She's a spiritual care practitioner, supervisor, educator of spiritual care practitioners. And so she has been in the room when this has happened. She's been in ethics teams when they've been deciding with families and physicians and all of that. So she has a much greater experience in this.
With this.
So my experience is kind of like vicariously through her and her stories and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'll say.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate the fact that you're connected with somebody who is intimately involved in that aspect of healthcare. And so, again, acknowledge my complete incompetence in talking about this, but it's the fair game, I think, of anyone who's theologically minded and, is living a human life and will one day have to face death, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I also think it can come up quickly. Like if you're not thinking about it, like the question will come from a physician or from a nurse or whatever. Someone may ask, have you considered this?
Right.
And if you haven't really done much consideration of it and all of a sudden you found yourself or your grandparent or your parent, it can be a bit jarring.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've come to realize too, is that now obviously in Catholic facilities is different.
Yeah.
But in general healthcare, it's
an option. It's a live option.
For sure. And sometimes it almost feels like an imposed kind of, hey, would you have considered it?
This is on the table.
Exactly. Yeah. And there seems to almost be sometimes a bit of subtle pressure.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's kind of lay out, I guess, like maybe just a definition of terms. So because MAID is different than, say, like the removal of life support, right? So MAID, medical assistance in dying, as I understand it, is where somebody who is in grave health, I don't know if that's been extended to things like mental illness, right, or disability. But as I understand it, somebody who'd be in the advanced stages of terminal decline is given the option that they can bring about their death through medical intervention, right? Is that basically how you understand it too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this would be different maybe than, say, somebody who is, again, in terminal decline, is on life support.
Yep.
Right. So there's sort of an artificial intervention already in place, keeping them alive.
Yep.
And this is different than simply choosing to say, okay, let's remove those supports and allow nature to take its course.
Yeah.
Would you say those are kind of fair?
Yeah. I think I would say that if the body itself is able to maintain itself, that medical assistance in dying would be an intervention to
prohibit that. Yeah. Got
it. That dying process versus the I'm being kept alive by some other external imposition of something, and the removal of that would just be my body is naturally going to take its course.
Right. Yeah. So it's almost like one's passive, one's active in a sense, right? Yeah. So maybe starting from the position of, it seems like the Christian response is, let's not do this. Let's not do MAID.
Right.
The reason why I say it seems like I know the EFC has been very vocal, right, in kind of right to life, dignity to life.
Yeah. Evangelical Fellowship.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sort of like a voice for evangelicals in a way.
Yeah.
And the Catholic Church, I think, as well, right? So Jason, why is it that that's maybe the default Christian response? Like, why do you think we start from that position?
Yeah, I think probably comes from Exodus, where there's a clear command, you shall not murder or kill or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the baseline.
Sure.
Of, like, if we're called to love and we're not called to kill or murder people, therefore, why would we do that?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you'd root that in Exodus. Yeah. I think...
Exodus 20.
Exodus 20, yeah. So there's probably also the argument that this could be rooted in the image of God, right? Genesis 1:27, right?
Yes.
That God is the author of life, right? And that as a result, we recognize ourselves as the gracious recipients of something and not the author and administrator of those same conditions, right? So seems like, there's maybe a couple angles there. And anywhere else, like biblically, you might go to kind of say, here seem to be some scriptural soundings before jumping into the theology?
Not necessarily. I'm sure there are. But
yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like the whole thrust of Christianity, at least, is that Christ has come to bring life, right? And wholeness, right? And it does seem like a decision to end the experience of life would be, against the scriptures that way. Mm-hmm. So let's pick it up then with Exodus 20. Like we would recognize already that, I think you even sort of said it when you're like, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not kill. Like, okay, like there's degrees here, right? Yep. So we would grant that obviously murdering somebody would be verboten, obviously. Yeah. But we do recognize where there are state-sanctioned instances of killing, right? So we could think of war, right? Where an aggressor, a nation has invaded another one. Perhaps we think of Ukraine and Russia, right? Yep. That we would say that Ukraine is authorized to use lethal force, right? So that would be war. And then probably also coupled with that self-defense, right? Yep. If somebody's threatening my life and I, kill that person, under certain conditions, it's viewed as morally permissible, right? So I mean, less so in Canada, certainly, but capital punishment, right? The state seems to wield the sword, and Paul can talk about how it's like, it's a legitimate use of that. So talk with me a little bit about that. Like, how are those legitimate instances of killing? And if they are, could that be could made then become one of those legitimate ethical categories? Yeah, I think so. First, let me think about it. I see two categories. One is the category of the decision of me to kill myself. Okay, that's I think what we're talking about with made, right? It's not somebody else intervening and saying, this is what I'm going to do to you, whether you like it or not. Right. I think those other instances would be, all the other ones you referenced, would be someone choosing to kill another or murder another. Right. So I think then the next question is it possible that there are times when it's maybe the lesser of two evils, right? There's evil, it's just bad either way. Yeah. But one might be the lesser of the two. Right. So in war, people get killed, but perhaps it's a question of maybe it's a lesser of the evil of a whole population getting wiped out, as opposed to people trying to stand up and defend their country or whatever. Right. Yeah. In the case of capital punishment, I am not in favor. Of that, sure. Right. Yeah. So I think that I don't think that's appropriate. Again, I know there's people that hold to Old Testament texts that would say there is appropriate application. I see, the way of Jesus as being a little bit different than that. And what was the other example you gave? I just wanted to bring that up, like in Genesis 9, right? Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. Right. And they actually links it to, for in the image of God he made man. So it links that as a part of like our, you're right. So I'm just saying, yes, people are going to go that way. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we talked about capital punishment or self-defense. Yeah. Right? Self-defense. Yeah. Again, the lesser of two evils, right? There's evil going on. Yeah. How do I arrest this evil and potentially cut it off before it takes away more lives? Right. So let's follow your moral reasoning then, because it's like, is not then made a lesser of two evils? Like, well, I think the question is, what are the two evils at play? So one could be prolonged suffering with no redemptive value. Okay. Which is, I know, begging the question, is there redemptive value, which we'll come to, right? Yeah. And then the other evil is the self choosing to terminate existence. Right. So both of those are, I would say, evil. Yes. But one is arguably lesser. Well, I guess I would ask the question then, is the intervention leading to death of somebody who's already on the trajectory, is that better than potentially helping that person, supporting them, allowing them to work through pain management, through all kinds of other interventions, supporting them through good family and people contact. There's a lot of research, I think, that would indicate that there are interventions that can be made. Sure. And that's the other side of like palliative care, which maybe be helpful to talk about at some point. Yeah, certainly. And that is dealing with and helping someone have a great life right up until the end. When their body gives out, when God calls them home, however you want to describe that.
there is that other side of it.
Yeah.
That is also, there's a lot of medical research indicating that that's actually a great,
Sure.
right? And that's been practiced for centuries.
Right. Yeah. Does that presuppose that, okay, so first of all, I want you to answer the question, like just as point blank as you can.
Yeah.
So to your mind, it's like the greater evil is made in that case, as opposed to extending suffering.
Extending suffering.
Yeah, like right in the sense that, you're going to extend it as opposed to just terminating it.
Yeah, I think there's something going on. Every individual that chooses me, there's probably something going on internally for them that I think it would be really helpful to surface that, right? And maybe we can talk about that. I mean, but I'm sure there's a lot. Yeah, I think probably when somebody decides I want to terminate my life at a certain day, there's all kinds of questions that raises for me around tell me more, right? I want to know why you're choosing to end your life.
Right.
Is it purely pain-based? Because there are people that have pain that seem to find ways to engage in the world without terminating their lives.
Sure.
So if you were able to say, well, what if we were able to manage that pain?
Right.
Would you still want? And I suspect there would be some that would say, yes, I still want to end my life. Right.
Yeah.
Because it may not be just physical pain. It might be emotional or mental pain, which I would say we have great mental health and emotional support interventions.
Right.
And I think often what can be found too is the question of community and the people that are around. Right? And it is the person, and I think, again, from what I understand, often people are feeling like they're a burden.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And they feel like it could be a burden to their family, it could be a burden to the system, or it could be they just don't feel like they're losing their dignity.
Right.
They don't want that to happen.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's another dynamic of like, how can we create spaces where people feel like I'm okay to be cared for. Right. And a lot of people feel like I don't want to be cared for. Right. And so I think that's there's all kinds of layers of complexity here that I think could be, if we could bring someone to a point of saying, actually, I would love to care for you. And we have a team of people. And we would love to walk with you and support you. Right. In this dying process. Yeah. That I think there's alternatives, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. So you're like, it's the greater evil.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, that's right.
There's probably things that aren't surfaced there. That yeah.
So, like, is it the case then, like, in your view, that I don't want to talk about like right mind or wrong mind, but it's like that no one in their right mind would just want to say, that's it, I'm good. Like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah,
I think that there's always some support that could ameliorate that condition.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think there's also people that live up into their late 90s and they've lost all their friends.
Right.
And, again, but I think then it's a matter of maybe loneliness or isolation or those sorts of things. That somebody feels like, I'm okay to go. Yeah. Right?
Right.
I think there's a different dynamic that happens when you're like, okay, I'm going to intervene in order so that I can go now or go soon.
Yeah. And like the conversation is obviously complicated by the fact that like you can almost hypothesize any scenario, right? Of like, well, what if they were 60 and it was depression versus what if they were 98 and it was stage 4 cancer? Like there's so many variables, right? Could it be thought of like this, that made is, so God gives us freedom to choose, right? And that that freedom entails that we can decide for ourselves when it's time to go. Right. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's something beautiful about that, that kind of autonomous decision making.
Right.
I wonder how much we might find that in, like, for example, the scriptures or the history of the Christian faith, right? Like, how often we find these autonomous decisions being made versus communal kind of decision making. Even the idea of like, I want to choose my spouse. Right. I think that's a fairly recent phenomenon.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So even that, the agency that I have as an individual, I think is, we talked about the Enlightenment beforehand, right? But there are some, like, it is a bit of a product of the Enlightenment that I question about whether that's like really the.
You're back to the Enlightenment. I'm a big Enlightenment fan. Like, I just want to say, I think it's great. Wonderful thing. So 10 out of 10 would enlighten again.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that for you is not. So God's freedom that He gives to us does not extend to our own decision to end our lives.
Yeah, I think if you get a circle of like Christ centered folks, people that really want to listen to the person and support them and help them.
Yeah.
Can you get a circle of people to agree and say, yes, we should bring your life to it?
Well, I mean, like, what if I said, yes, we could? Like, that doesn't mean anything.
Well,
like,
I think that'd be interesting. I just love to know what was going on in that circle.
Right.
And if it was genuinely, yes, we're here. We hear your support. We hear your desperation to end your life.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if that's been tried.
Right? No, and I don't know either. Yeah. I guess it's like I'm trying to find these soundings, right? Of like, okay, on what grounds could we think of this as like even a mercy, right? Like where like I'm a little skeptical about like but I mean to your point about if we asked the person who is suffering, what is their inner mental life like and their community life and spiritual condition and pain control and all those things, and we could modulate and I mean, I kind of wonder though, doesn't MAID come after some of those conversations? Or like isn't MAID tabled as an option after we've looked at those things? And it's like, well, we've modulated all the dials we can.
No.
Now we're gonna look at this. You don't think that happens?
No, I know it doesn't happen.
Really?
I know it becomes a conversation point early on for people that when nurses or physicians see and think, oh, this person doesn't really want to be here, like or they're getting deeply concerned and whatever, and so they can be asked, well, have you considered this?
Right. Yeah.
And then it's back to them. Well, maybe I should consider this because I'm becoming a burden, and I'm feeling that burden from the people that are caring for me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess like
that's pressure.
Yeah, so I would agree. That would be absolutely a pressure-laden situation. To me, that like it sort of brings it into a realm of like, okay, well, how would we be able to demonstrate this is happening? Like, so I mean, yeah, we could get testimony where it does happen. It's like I just have to take your word for it that it happens, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, I would agree.
Right.
But I guess like, so
I'm not suggesting that's every case.
No, absolutely, yeah. Then are you willing to say, just for the sake of argument, that the person, has answered those questions without an undue sense of pressure and has still said, MAID, I think, is the best thing in my case? Is it morally permissible in that case?
Yeah, I would say I can't be, like, it's not my job to judge what happens on the other side.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you mean on the other side?
Like, in this sense, when you say morally permissible, do you like? I guess I'm asking: are you suggesting like the question of what is God thinking about this?
No, more like just in the same judgments that we make about like would you agree that killing in war is morally permissible?
I think so.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like at the level of like we're not saying what they did was good. We're just saying we've sanctioned it for this, and that's more the category.
I see.
I'm trying to ask: is it then morally permissible?
Right.
Not like the person's. God's view of them is beyond our ken.
Totally. Yeah. So morally permissible, like as in like
we can say like this is just that, a morally permissible thing to do. Because the impression I have is is that evangelicals have said it is not morally permissible to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are there not situations where it is morally permissible?
Yeah.
As much as like where it becomes a category.
It would be helpful to surface what are those categories?
Right.
Because I think the other side of it is like we haven't even talked about like the Christian view of suffering.
I've got it in my notes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think if we look at the person of Christ, for example, right?
Yes.
Like there even seems to be a rejection of the very thing that would have alleviated the suffering to some degree.
Are you talking about like the vinegar?
I mean, is that possible? I don't know exactly what was going on there, but it appears as though they're like he wanted to, and I don't want to glorify suffering. Like I don't want to like.
Well, because I think we talked about that.
Yeah. But I think that there's a sense in which it's like he was bearing the weight, like all the full weight.
Truly,
right?
Yeah.
So, and then we look at like what is in text in like Peter, where it talks about like it's impossible to like.
I love how you're going to the Bible. Like, where is this Jason coming from?
these lives or whatever. I don't know that I can point to text. You're
good. You're good. Yeah,
about suffering and
the fiery trial and sure.
So I think there must be something there, right? And I think to escape that, I get it. Like in this sense, none of us want to suffer.
Right.
At the same time, it seems to be what went on in the early stages of the church. It seems to be what went on with Jesus.
Right.
I mean, look at Paul. I mean, like it's all over the place,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so the exit strategy
Right.
never appeared to be
Right.
that you can end it
Right.
just by saying I want to end it now,
Right. Right. Yeah.
So that's what I bump up against.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the Christian view of suffering, because I agree that. So I'm gonna write this course on theological aesthetics, right? And it's in theology, and the Christian religion in particular is interesting aesthetically because it has a category for suffering, right, and redemptive suffering, right? That we could look at the cross of Christ and see both the grotesque and the beautiful, right?
Yes.
So like, yeah, there does seem to be this view that like made perhaps shortens the time under which a person could experience the redemptive value of suffering, right? That we believe that Christ actually meets us in that. Paul seems to talk about like in his body making up the sufferings of Christ, right? That like there's a really profound point of connection there.
Yeah.
Why is the line it made? Like, why isn't it? I don't mean to be cheeky. I should be careful, but I'm like, why don't we go to the dentist and just decide, no anesthesia because I want to suffer? And, like, why do we draw that suffering line it made? Why do you think?
Yeah, well, I guess I think it's like that's final, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that like, I guess in the end, like I think about it, I think if you get your tooth extracted or if you get, like a cavity filled or whatever, that's not the end, right? Like you're going to live on, and if we can intervene in those ways, that's good. I think we can intervene in those ways, but that's final.
Right. So does the Christian view then presuppose that like suffering just must be endured? Like there's no mercy, like at the level of like, ending the suffering. Like, are we saying that you must suffer?
Yeah, isn't it Peter that talks about that? Like, let's
find out. Let's go to the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Because there, and I would say, and I would be wanted to quick to say, no, I don't think Christ leads us into suffering, because that's, everybody has to go there.
Rather, in this you rejoice that for a little while, if necessary, you've been grieved by various trials, so that the testing of the genuineness of your faith.
Mm-hmm.
That one, for what credit is it if you sin and are beaten, if for it you endure? This is 1 Peter 2:20. But if when you do good and suffer you endure, this is the gracious thing in the sight of God. Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example that you follow his steps.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at 4 and 12 and following, right? Like I think that's exactly. Now this is suffering for being a Christian, right?
Right. Totally. I mean, you could talk about like suffering according to God's will, like 1 Peter 4:19. Yeah.
I mean, I think also like Hebrews 12 talks about, looking at Christ, right? That's, in our struggle against sin. Like, I think there's an aspect here, endure hardship as discipline. So that there seems to be this kind of enduring things, like hanging on, right? Like trusting, believing. I mean, isn't that like, okay, so I guess the baseline would be the question of, if you have confidence and trust in God, right? Isn't that enough? Like, is there a place in which you would say, I trust God, I have confidence in God, I believe that God will carry me,
right?
And God wants me to end my life, right? Or do I not believe that God has the capacity and the power, to bring about, the conclusion of my life, right? To bring me to a place of death, when God so ordains, or when God is ready for me to be done. Right?
Like, that to me is so interesting, because like I feel like it brings in this like determinist frame. Like God's like, okay, God's controlling this. Like God's in making me suffer, endorsing my suffering. Like what's the view, right? Because like the way you framed it, I think presupposes that it's like, it's a trust in that, versus like you just frame it as like God in his grace has given me this medical intervention where I no longer have to suffer, And like, you know, presumably the Christian view of death, right? That I'll one day be united with him, right? Like it's not a finality. Like, what do you think?
Well, I guess I wonder in terms of that paradigm, what is God doing? Like,
Right.
has God just left you to like, okay, so
Right.
now you have to carry yourself, you have to do everything yourself. And I think there's an aspect of, I think that God is at work in and through the events of our lives, inviting us to take on the character of Christ, right? So whether, you know, somebody cuts you off, or whether, you know, you get a speeding ticket, or whatever it may be, the question becomes, how are you going to respond? Are you going to respond as, right? So I don't think it's God doing all of those things, but I think God is creating space, making allowance for these sorts of things. I mean, the other side of it would be, is God totally removed, right? And we're just left, right? And it's like, I'm born and I die, and God doesn't intervene. It's kind of a deistic kind of, God's somewhere,
hands off. It's just gonna play out.
And I don't think we see that in the Gospels and the New Testament. I think there appears to be an active intervention.
So would it be fair to say, like, in your view, all suffering is redemptive?
Or all suffering could result in growth, I think. Maybe.
Okay. Okay. And I'm like, I get that. I guess I think about it as, you know, are we then not superimposing that theology on the person who is suffering and saying, like, you can use this for your goodness, like, or your own growth. And then it just kind of becomes like, or you know what I mean? Like, I guess, what if that person doesn't think that that's what suffering does? Like, aren't we sort of asking them to take our word for it? Or
here's what I would say. I might want to ask the person, what is Christ saying to you right now?
Right. Yeah.
And I would be surprised if somebody said, Christ is saying, kill yourself.
Right. Yeah, okay, because they're not going to say it that way. They're going to be like, Christ is saying, say goodnight. Like, they're going to say something gentle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Would they?
I don't know. Yeah, we don't have a person to ask.
But I think we never know the limits of someone's suffering, right? Somebody might appear outwardly entirely together, but we know enough about suicide to know there's people that are physically fit and whatever, and decide the time has come, right?
Yeah.
What's going on interiorly for them,
right?
We have to get in touch with that. So
I
think that's the question, is what is Christ doing? And do you not think that Christ would be inviting us to say, look upon me, look upon my suffering, right?
Yeah.
Join me.
Right.
There's an intimacy here. There's an opportunity for intimacy that others who do not suffer are not privy to.
Right.
So I can understand that.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't want that.
Right.
But I think that's the opportunity in those moments of suffering.
Right.
And again, what is suffering? Is it physical suffering? Is it emotional or mental or people suffer for all kinds of things, right?
Totally.
Because we can alleviate a lot of it through community, through medical interventions that are not killing the person.
Right. Yeah. Well, and surely you'd grant we can alleviate it through MAID as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, it's the last stop on the train, but yeah.
The other side of it is, as a physician, as somebody who then is invited into that, what is that like? How does that, like, right? And I think that, like, I remember when I pastored, there was a physician in my congregation who had been raised Catholic. She went to the church that I was pastoring, but she had deeply Catholic values, and she was like, "There's not a chance I will ever do this. This deeply disturbs me, because as a physician, I sign a Hippocratic oath that says do no harm, and I think this is harmful, right? So I think then you're inviting physicians into this, and I know some are happy to go into it. They see this as a
good thing.
That's right. Yeah. But I also think there's that aspect of it.
Yeah.
That you're forcing, I shouldn't use the term force, but you're requiring others to come in and to assist you in this,
taking of another life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Are you familiar with the critique of Mother Teresa sort of on this point about providing healthcare in Calcutta for the people who were sort of brought in under her auspices?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Chris Hitchens made a big deal about this. I've not read his book, but I'm familiar that there seemed to be, like, the view that perhaps Mother Teresa saw suffering as redemptive. And so in that way, and as a result withheld certain medical treatments, because it would be an opportunity for this person to offer up their suffering to God.
Right.
Right. I don't hear you advocating that necessarily.
No.
So like just the view that I'm kind of looking for is like, I guess, do you think, should the state offer MAID?
Should the state offer?
Yeah, like, so I mean, I get your position as a Christian. You would be very uneasy with endorsing it.
Yeah.
Should the state offer it?
I don't okay, let me think about this.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a careful question. So take your time.
Yeah. What do you think? Let me throw it back.
No. I mean, this should probably turn into a podcast on political theology, right? Like, to what extent should Christian values align with the state? Where should we be conscientious objectors? I do think, there's this canard that like, well, we can't legislate morality. And I want to say, well, every vote is a legislation of some kind of morality. Like, it's just whose morality, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So, I'm mindful that, like, yes, because not everyone shares our convictions around what suffering is and possibly the redemptive character of it.
Yeah.
We might be hard pressed to kind of say, well, you need to play by these rules, even though you don't see them quite the same way.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if we actually have principles like all life is sacred and we're not the author of it and it should be protected, then the case could be made that it's like, no, as a society, we ought not to do this because greater ills will attend it, including perhaps the slippery slope argument where I don't know if this is like with people who are suffering from mental illness, prolonged mental illness, right? Or disabilities, should it be open to them, right? So I would say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Like, I mean, if you're willing to say this is a moral evil, then the state should not endorse it. That's kind of what I think. But
I definitely think palliative care options should be much more prominent. Right. It should be like physicians should be taught about palliative care. How to offer it, how to provide support for it. In people's homes and whatever. I think that would alleviate a lot of it.
Do you want to explain, because we haven't really talked about palliative care, do you want to explain just sort of what that is? How it differs?
Essentially, so when somebody is kind of recognizing that you're on the downward slope, like I guess in some ways we're all on that, but there are some indicators that your life will come to an end sooner than maybe what you might have thought.
Right.
There are great interventions that the healthcare community provides, and like I think Erica was even part of a palliative care outreach team that basically would go into people's homes. She served a spiritual care role. There's nurses, there's physicians, there's I think nutritionists. I don't know exactly who's all on the team.
It's like a team.
It's a team, and basically they are there to provide whatever kind of support and care alongside the person. To help them, and as they kind of navigate to live life to the fullest, to help them to do everything they need to do or want to do, and prepare for a good death. So that in when held up against MAID, which is far like it's a less kind of supportive communal kind of experience, it's more ethical,
it's a little more clinical kind of a
So I think that is a much greater option, so that people feel like, oh, I can be supported and loved and nurtured and right up until the end. Like I think that's it's less efficient than MAID, but it's far better for everybody involved, because then the care providers get the chance to kind of walk with this person. And all of that
kind of humanizes everyone in that process.
Exactly. And I think it's kind of like, again, it's like centuries old, or like as old as humans are.
Sure. Yeah. Like you could tell me anything and I'd be like, awesome. Yeah. So so I'm hearing you say the state should make palliative care far greater in an option at end of life care. Are you willing to say the state should not provide MAID?
I don't see how it's beneficial to people, and I recognize that there's people that feel like, yes, but I want it, and you don't know my situation, you don't know my condition. Fair enough, I get that. At the same time, I also think that those helpful interventions could go a long way. And yes, I think there's far too many people that end up feeling like this is their only option or their best option for wrong reasons. I think I've already described some of those things.
For sure.
So I think in opening the door, it makes it far too easy.
Okay. So you're a pastor,
Yes.
and there's a member of your congregation
Yes.
who, after multiple conversations, years of discernment,
Yeah.
finally says, Jason,
Yeah.
this is the choice for me. I'm going to do this.
Okay.
Would you accompany that person in the final stage of their life?
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure. Why would you do that?
I mean, like, it's not up to me. Like, I don't.
No,
determine,
yeah, no,
like,
not at all.
Yeah. So I think I don't. It's like, even like if somebody is in prison, right?
Yeah.
Why Jesus would invite me to go to prison? Do I?
Right.
Do I condone what they've done?
Right.
Even if they feel like I'm not wrong, I would do it all
Yeah.
over again and whatever. Like, that's not like, a pastor's not there to like say, oh, okay, well, therefore you're not making the decisions and choices that are in keeping with what I think God would want, and therefore I'm going to cut off relationship with you.
Right.
I think, no, you're accountable to God.
Yeah.
I'm accountable to God, and I'm going to accompany you and support you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now abstracting that and just, so this is a purely theological question.
Yes. Yeah.
Is made sinful?
Is made sinful.
Yeah. Like, is that action of taking your own life medically, is that sinful in your reading of the tradition and the scripture?
Yeah.
Like, it's purely theological. We don't, you know.
And when you say sinful, like, I mean,
contrary to God's will, however you want to define sin.
Do we want to go down a list of sins just to kind of define
rank it?
Yeah, like, I guess I think, is it what I think God would want a human to decide? No. Okay, so if you want to call that sinful,
sure, I think that's a good. Okay,
right?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't see that God would say. And you know what? I might meet God one day face to face.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I was
you
trying
got
to tell
that wrong.
That's right.
Podcast timestamp. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Fair enough. Right?
Yeah.
But as far as I can discern, it does not appear that God would say, I'm going to call you to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And to invite others to support you.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
Yeah, totally. On what grounds is it contrary to God's will, do you think? Like, what's the issue there? Is it well, you're not the author of life, you can't take it? Is it you foreclosed an opportunity for suffering and intimacy with Christ? Is it pride? Like, what's kind of the...
Well, if pure and simple,
I know you don't think in these terms. That's why I like asking you these questions.
Well, no, I think pure and simple, it comes down to, I think if we genuinely have trust, confidence in God, then God will carry us from birth all the way beyond. Right. Yeah. And we can rest confidently in his hands. Now, I don't often do that. I like to make my own decisions. I like to do my own thing. Yeah. But I think if we truly submit to God and we believe and trust that we are in his loving hands, I think that's why. Right? Yeah. Because that decision would say, I don't think I could trust God with my very end. I'm going to make that decision. Yeah. I'm going to kind of go that route. Okay. Yeah. No, that's really good. I wonder too, like, how much of it like becomes in this discussion kind of like cast in that moralistic framework, right? Of like, right, wrong, sin, righteousness, good, bad, and like how many people are belaboring under that, like, well, I can't do this because I'll go to hell, or because, versus like some of these maybe just wider frames of thinking about the ethics of a decision like this, right? And what it actually means about our relationship with God that way. Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. What do you think? Is it a sin or not? Yeah. Or do you think the state should offer it? Yeah. I mean, we did kind of talk about that with the state. I tend to, my moral reasoning is pretty wooden. Like, I just kind of think I'm pretty Kantian in the sense of like, it's either good or bad. Like, right. So I just think like, if it is actually morally bad, it doesn't become morally good just because the state does it. Right. Yeah. So that's where I would say, I do think that, that's overreach on the state's part. I don't think that we should do that. I do think it's sinful for the similar reasons there. Maybe I'd even like err more on the side of like, author of life type thing. But, certainly would never frame it that way if somebody like in a pastoral conversation, I don't really think that would factor in the same way. Yeah. I think I really do, not having had any experience of somebody who's at end of life decision-making, I feel like I would be, or for me, it's like an emotional thing where it's like, if somebody I loved was suffering so profoundly and was begging to die, I would have a very hard time saying,
you can't do that.
Right.
You know, like
Totally.
there's something about autonomy and freedom, even if I think it's a terrible decision, would want to say like, and I hear that in your answer too about the parishioner who said, I'm going to do like, and I'm going to be with you all the way to the end. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's kind of more it's like a heartstrings, like an emotional argument to me that like makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But I do think your point just about, the supports that we can bring in to make life meaningful or to increase the possibility for a meaningful life, you know, are well heeded. I remember I had a conversation, it was with a friend, I'll ambiguate it enough to not be able to identify the person, but they had a member of their family who was suffering from cancer and had just gotten to a place of such a deterioration that, you know, for them, it was almost all they could wish for was death, you know? And I remember this person just had a very difficult time thinking about how to provide comfort in that situation, right? So I think like, as we're sort of coming to the conclusion of this, it's like, it's all well and good. We can kind of lapse into our intellectual discussion about it, right? But then just, when it's on the ground, like it's got to be so fraught and just such a nuanced and, you know, emotionally difficult conversation to have with people.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's another part that we didn't talk about, and that is like Catholic facilities in Canada,
right? They
don't offer medical assistance in dying. So if you happen to be in a Catholic facility, whether that be long-term care or hospital, then you will go somewhere else in order to, if you really want to make that decision. So there's an example of like a resistance to the state sanctioned. And I know Catholics continue to get pushback on that.
Sure.
But they have taken a very strong stand within their facilities. It's not going to happen. So that's an interesting kind of position, right?
Well, and I think like there's that opportunity for Christian witness, like sort of at both ends of the life spectrum, right? Both with end of life care, but also beginning of life care, right? When we think about, you know, the abortion question, right? And has a lot of similar sort of constellates around the kind of ethical questions. But that, you know, when we think about the way that the early church distinguished itself, right, was often caring for, you know, exposed infants and, you know, the least privileged in society and also the aged, right? So, you know, there really is, I think, that opportunity for us to sort of step up and live out this kind of radical yes to life, even life with suffering, that maybe, you know, as a society, we've sort of said we don't really want to deal with that, you know? This is probably interesting too, like at the level at which suffering has become so removed from our experience. Like I was talking, we had a class, it was on Orthodox ethics, and I could get this wrong, so fathers forgive me, but like within the Orthodox tradition,
do you think they listen to?
I bet Father Jeffrey does. I shouldn't tell Father John I do this podcast, but he was saying that like the gold standard sort of in the Orthodox tradition is to die at home with your family, right? Like, you know, where, you know, and like you think about it, like, that's where I want to die too. Like,
well, that's kind of historic,
right? Where you would die, right? Whereas now, you know, we take our suffering and we move it to a hospital, right? Where we don't have to face it, you know, and we're profoundly uncomfortable in hospitals because people are suffering and we're reminded of our mortality, right? So it seems like MAID could be at the fringe end of even that, right? Where it's like, and death itself is kind of sort of sanitized a little bit, right? And kind of moved away where we aren't really forced to reckon with that in our life anymore.
Oh man, such a great point. I think about even the concept of the funeral home, right? It's like people when they died, they used to you'd have the casket at home,
right?
People, like their own home. Like people would come to their home. Visit them for that. Like it wasn't a separate. Like, it was very.
Even though it's called a funeral home, right? Like a home. Yeah, totally. Right. That's wild. Yeah. Oh man, that would just be. We should do a course on thanatology. Yeah. Theology of death. You could teach that.
You could teach that. Joel Thiessen teaches at Ambrose.
At Ambrose,
He's a sociologist. But he's just wrapping up a course, or he did a course on death.
Awesome.
Death and dying. I think from a sociological point of view.
Cool.
That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it sounds like conversations are happening around this kind of thing, right? And it'd be interesting to hear how the EFC again has kind of championed that and brought that to the forefront of maybe like policy decision making, things like that. But
totally.
I do think it's like, man, you can't get the toothpaste back in the tube though. Like I don't think the government's ever gonna like roll that one back. Like I don't know. I couldn't see it happening, but
I think although you know what, governments surprised me.
Yeah.
And how things can turn quickly, as you know, to bring it full circle.
Yeah,
How
right.
things can turn
So quickly.
Yeah, it's like
right.
all of a sudden,
Right.
things that you're like, well, you could
Yeah.
take this for granted. It's like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
So you never know.
So good.
But
Awesome. That's
Good.
all I've got.
yes,
Okay.
send us your questions. Give us comments.
topics. Yeah. If you want to be a special guest, let us know.
Yeah.
We've got a space for you right here.
Yes.
Yeah. But thanks for listening. We'll
Yes.
see you for episode 2. See you.
That's right.
All right.